Right now, somewhere in the world, someone with your exact same 24 hours is building a life you'd envy. And someone else with those same 24 hours is watching videos like this one and doing nothing with what they learn. The difference between those two people has almost nothing to do with talent, luck, or money. It comes down to one resource that every single person on earth receives in equal measure every morning: time. And most people are bankrupting themselves without even realizing it. You can lose your money and make it back. You can lose an opportunity and find another one. But there is one thing you can never get back once it's gone: a wasted hour. Not a wasted day. Not a wasted year. An hour. Because an hour is where a day begins, and a day is where a life is built. This is the philosophy of Jim Rohn, a man who spent his life studying not what separates the rich from the poor, but what separates the intentional from the accidental. And what he discovered was simple, almost uncomfortably simple. The top 1% of achievers in any field are not the people with more hours in the day. They are the people who have made peace with a decision the other 99% keep avoiding. The decision to stop treating time like it's unlimited. If you've ever ended a long day exhausted, having done 100 things, and still felt like you accomplished nothing that mattered, this is for you. If you've ever said, "I'll start tomorrow," more times than you can count, this is for you too. Because tomorrow has a habit nobody talks about. It keeps moving. It never actually arrives. And the people who wait for it often look up one day and realize 5 years have quietly disappeared while their dream sat in exactly the same place they left it. If any of this is landing on you right now, drop a comment and let me know where you feel like your time has been slipping away. I read every single one, and you might be surprised how many people are sitting in that same spot with you. Because what I'm about to walk you through isn't just a philosophy. It's a set of decisions. Small, ordinary, unremarkable decisions that quietly separate the people who build extraordinary lives from the people who just talk about wanting one. And the most important one of those decisions is coming up in just a moment. Here is the problem, stated plainly. Most people are not lazy. Most people are not without potential. Most people are simply undirected. They want success. They want financial freedom. They want confidence, health, energy, a better future for their family. Nobody wakes up and decides they want a mediocre life. But wanting something and building something are two entirely different acts, and the bridge between them is what you do with your ordinary, unremarkable hours. Look at how an average day actually unfolds for most people. They wake up and reach for their phone before their feet touch the floor. They scroll for a few minutes that quietly become 20. They react to notifications instead of deciding what deserves their attention. They watch things that entertain them for a moment and leave nothing behind. They complain about circumstances they've never actually tried to change. And then, somewhere in the middle of all that noise, the one task that could have actually moved their life forward gets pushed to later. Later becomes tomorrow. Tomorrow becomes next week. And next week has an uncomfortable way of turning into next year. This is not a character flaw. It's a default setting. And defaults are powerful precisely because they don't feel like choices. They feel like just how life is. But here's the truth. Jim Rohn built his entire philosophy around: if you don't decide how your day is spent, someone or something else will decide it for you. Your inbox will decide it. Your notifications will decide it. Other people's priorities will decide it. And you'll spend your one life executing everyone else's agenda instead of your own. Think of every hour as something you're investing, not spending. When you spend an hour learning, you walk away with knowledge you didn't have before. When you spend an hour practicing something, you walk away slightly more skilled than you were. When you spend an hour working towards something that matters to you, you are, quite literally, a version of yourself closer to the life you're picturing. But the reverse is also true. When you trade an hour for mindless distraction, you're not just losing that hour. You're investing in a habit. You're teaching your brain that this is what hours are for. And habits compound just as powerfully as good decisions do, just in the opposite direction. Here's the part most people miss entirely. The individuals who go on to achieve remarkable things almost never have more time than everyone else. They have the same 24 hours as the person scrolling next to them on the train. What they have is a decision, made early and made often, about which hours are non-negotiable. And they protect those hours the way most people protect their bank account. So what does that decision actually look like in practice? It starts with something deceptively small, knowing, before the day begins, what actually deserves your attention. Not what's loudest, not what's most urgent seeming, what actually matters. Picture two people waking up to the exact same 24 hours. The first person opens their eyes and immediately opens their phone. They respond to messages that could have waited. They bounce from one distraction to the next, reacting to whatever crosses their path, letting the day happen to them. The second person wakes up already, knowing the one or two things that would make the day meaningful. And they give those things their sharpest energy before anything else gets a chance to hijack their attention. By evening, both people have burned the exact same 24 hours, but they are not standing in the same place. One has moved forward. The other has simply moved. This is the quiet, unglamorous truth about productivity that almost nobody wants to hear. Being busy is not the same as making progress. You can spend 10 hours in motion and still end the day exactly where you started. Real progress isn't about doing everything on your list. It's about doing the 2 or 3 things that actually matter and having the discipline to let the rest wait. So ask yourself, honestly, what are the 3 things that would make today meaningful? Not 20 things. Not an overflowing to-do list that makes you feel productive while accomplishing nothing of substance. 3 things. Name them. Protect the time for them like your future depends on it, because it does. This also means learning to say no. And saying no is harder than it sounds because it rarely feels like a big decision in the moment. It feels like a small, polite yes to one more request, one more notification, one more thing that will only take a minute. But not every invitation deserves your presence. Not every opinion deserves your energy. Not every opportunity that shows up is actually your opportunity to chase. Every time you say yes to something that doesn't serve where you're headed, you are quietly saying no to something that would have. Think about a camera for a moment. When the lens is unfocused, everything in the frame is blurry. Nothing stands out. Nothing is clear. But the moment you focus that lens on a single subject, the image sharpens instantly. Your attention works exactly the same way. Scattered focus produces a scattered, blurry life. Focused attention produces results you can actually see. Now here's where most people misunderstand what's actually happening beneath the surface. And this is the part that changes everything once you see it. The reason distraction feels so difficult to resist isn't weakness. It's that your morning hours are the single most valuable, highest leverage resource you have, and almost nobody protects them. Your mind, in the first part of the day, is operating with mental energy you simply do not have later on. That's not motivation talk. It's how attention and willpower actually work. And what do most people do with that peak window? They hand it, immediately and for free, to notifications, social media feeds, and other people's agendas. By the time they finally sit down to do something that matters, their sharpest hours are already spent on things that will mean nothing by next week. Protecting your morning doesn't require a dramatic life overhaul. It requires one decision, repeated daily. Before you open anything that invites you to react, spend that early energy on something your future self will thank you for. Read, write, plan, move your body, study, build. It doesn't need to be an hour. It can start with 15 minutes. But those 15 minutes, given consistently to something that matters, will outperform years of scattered effort. If this is resonating with you, this is exactly the moment to hit like on this video and send it to someone in your life who needs to hear it too. Because odds are, there's someone you know who's been saying, I'll start tomorrow for far too long, and this might be the nudge they need. Here's the deeper truth underneath all of this. 5 years from now, you will not be able to recover a single hour you're wasting today. But you absolutely will be able to feel the compounding effect of the disciplined choices you make starting right now. Every book finished adds something permanent. Every skill practiced adds something permanent. Every difficult task completed, even the small ones, strengthens something in you that doesn't go away. None of these individual moments feel significant while you're living them. That's exactly why so many people abandon them. They're chasing a feeling of progress instead of trust the process of accumulation. But repeated enough times, these small, unremarkable decisions become the entire architecture of a completely different life. This is where discipline has to enter the conversation, because motivation on its own will always let you down. Motivation is a feeling, and feelings are unreliable by nature. You will not wake up inspired every single morning. There will be days you feel tired, uncertain, or simply unmotivated to do the thing you know you should do. That's not a sign something is wrong with you. That is simply what being human feels like on an ordinary Tuesday. The real question was never, will I feel like doing this? The real question is, will I do it anyway? Discipline is what carries you through the days motivation quietly disappears. And real, lasting progress isn't built on a handful of extraordinary days. It's built on showing up again and again on the ordinary ones, especially the ones where showing up feels like the last thing you want to do. One day of discipline will not transform your life, but hundreds of them, stacked one after another, absolutely will. So stop waiting for some dramatic turning point, some perfect Monday, some burst of unstoppable motivation to arrive before you begin. Your life isn't shaped in dramatic moments. It's shaped in painfully ordinary ones. The decision to get up when you said you would. The decision to finish what you started instead of abandoning it halfway. The decision to put the phone down. The decision to give an hour to growth instead of an hour to scrolling. These choices look small in the moment. They are not small. They are the actual building material of the life you say you want. At the end of each day, ask yourself 3 honest questions. Where did my time actually go? What did I truly accomplish? What can I do differently tomorrow? Ask these not to criticize yourself, but to see yourself clearly, because awareness is what makes change possible. You cannot redirect time you're not paying attention to. And understand this too. You will not control everything. Plans will fall apart. People will interrupt you. Some days will simply go badly, no matter how disciplined you tried to be. But you will always control your response. One bad hour does not have to ruin the whole day. One bad day does not have to ruin the week. And one mistake, however frustrating, does not have to define who you are. You are always allowed to refocus and begin again. So here is the single most important idea in everything we've covered today. Stop asking how you can find more time. You won't find any. There isn't more of it to find. The only question that actually changes anything is this. How can you use the time you already have more wisely? That one shift in the question changes everything that follows it. Protect your mornings. Protect your attention. Protect your energy the way you'd protect anything you couldn't afford to lose, because you can't. Choose your priorities before the day chooses them for you. Learn to say no to what doesn't matter, so you have room to say yes to what does. Finish what you start. Make real time for the people who matter to you, not leftover time. And invest your hours deliberately in becoming someone stronger, wiser, healthier, and more capable than you were yesterday. You don't need to become a different person. Jim Rohn never taught that. What he taught, again and again, in 100 different ways, was that you simply need to become more disciplined with the person you already have the potential to be. That potential isn't somewhere out in the distance, waiting for the right circumstances to unlock it. It's being built or neglected in the choices you're making today. So make the next hour count. Then make the one after that count too. A meaningful life is almost never the result of one extraordinary decision made in a dramatic moment. It's built quietly and unglamorously through thousands of ordinary decisions made with intention, most of which nobody else will ever see or applaud. Your time is limited. Everyone's is. Your days are numbered, though none of us know the number. But how you use the time you do have is entirely, completely in your hands. Don't wait for the perfect moment to begin, because it isn't coming. Start with the moment you actually have, right now. Learn something. Build something. Improve something. Reach out to someone who needs to hear from you. Move one step closer to whatever it is you've been putting off. And years from now, when you look back, you won't remember how much time you had. You'll remember and be grateful for how well you used it. If this message meant something to you today, subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next one. Because this is exactly the kind of thinking that, applied consistently, quietly changes a life. That is how you protect your future. That is how you build something meaningful. And that is how you begin to live like the 1%.